Have you ever been in a work environment where the very people who are supposed to set the example for everyone else, your company's top executives, are the ones creating a culture of secrecy, favoritism, and power struggles? Well, today we are talking about a romantic affair at a major corporation, and not just any affair. It was an affair that took place at the highest level of the company, and it led to a toxic work environment. Stick around until the end because I'm going to share practical tips with you on how to survive and protect yourself if you're ever in a toxic workplace. Hi, I'm Harlow Reed, creator of the HR Insider. If you watched my recent video on the GE lawyer who was fired after reporting to the CEO and later filed a claim of discrimination, you'll notice some striking similarities in today's story because in both cases, we're talking about a high powered executive and a top lawyer. But while the GE case centered on allegations of discrimination, the story we are talking about today involving Norfolk Southern is about a romantic affair. Needless to say, the work environments at both companies were dysfunctional and resulted in toxic coworkers for many, which is bad enough on its own. But toxic bosses? That's next level workplace dysfunction. Let's talk about it. The content shared on this channel is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional legal advice. Always consult a qualified attorney or HR professional for specific guidance tailored to your needs. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story starts with Alan Shaw, who joined Norfolk in 1994 and held different positions over nearly 3 decades. He became president in December of 21 and was appointed to the role of chief executive officer on May 1st of 22. And when I was reviewing this case, it was interesting to see the background of both of these accomplished executives. Um, Shaw was no average executive. He had the brains to back up his position. He earned a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering in 1989. He had an MBA in Finance that he earned in 92. Both of those degrees were from Virginia Tech. And he also completed the General Management program at Harvard Business School in 2012. So, personally, he was married at the time of the incident. He had been married for over 2 decades to his wife, Tiffany, and they had 4 children. Some of his career highlights showed also that he just really excelled in what he did in at work. He had a position as executive vice president, chief marketing officer. He had positions where he was recognized as the innovator of the year. So, I mean, he was just overall a very accomplished executive. Nab- Nabanita Chatterjee Nag. I'm probably messing up that name, but Nabanita was equally as brilliant. She joined Norfolk in August of 2020 as general counsel. She was promoted to senior vice president and chief legal officer in March of 22, and then later became executive president of corporate affairs. She had a bachelor's of arts degree in English and government. Both of those were from Georgetown University, and she also earned her Juris Doctor from New York University School of Law. Prior to joining Norfolk, she had worked as the corporate counsel at Prudential Financial and associate general counsel for Goldman Sachs. In 2024, she was honored by the Atlanta Business Chronicle as Corporate Counsel Award honoree for her outstanding work leading Norfolk Southern's legal department through very complex corporate challenges. I couldn't find any records showing that Nag was married at the time of the incident, so it's reasonable to assume that she was not. In September of 2024, Norfolk Board of Directors conducted an investigation because someone had tipped them off about a romantic relationship between Shaw and Nag. And the company's code of ethics policies prevented relationships between employees and their supervisors to prevent conflicts of interest, to prevent toxic work relationships, and to maintain professional integrity. As a result of the investigation, both Shaw and Nag were terminated from their positions effective immediately. I searched, but I could not find anything specific regarding how the board was made aware of the affair. But here's the thing, when someone is in a relationship, there are obvious signs that something is going on by the way the people engaged in the romantic affair behave around one another. As the CEO, Shaw would have widespread control over Nag's career, as well as power over the careers of others, which meant that Nag would certainly get special treatment, and that alone would create dysfunction. But that's not the only way that the relationship created a toxic environment. So, there were three primary issues that surfaced in the workplace at Norfolk as a result of this affair. The first one is the power and favoritism dynamic that was created. A lot of employees reported feeling like the rules didn't apply to certain people, and there were raises given, promotions. People weren't always sure why the promotions were happening, and there was a lot of job security concern. People weren't sure if they could trust the leadership team, and they felt like there was a high level of focus on protecting the relationship instead of doing the work that needed to be done to advance the mission and growth of the company. There was also a lot of gossip, and just general distrust. I think as I was reading through some of the secrets that were, talked about, weren't necessarily proven to be real, but it created a huge divide and a lot of drama amongst the leadership team and the people who reported to those leaders. Employees generally started talking about even decisions that were being made and who was benefiting from those decisions because they didn't feel like they were legitimate reasons for some of the actions that were being taken by leadership. And then there was also concern about retaliation because if, as people were participating in the investigation, there was concerns about saying the wrong thing, getting people in trouble, and they felt very worried that one person might be pushed out and another person might be allowed to stay. So they were just concerned about the backlash that could come as a result of what was the affair that was going on between these two executives. If you find yourself in a toxic environment, there are some specific things that you can do to protect yourself. The first one is to stay professional and avoid the drama. I know that it can be difficult if you are in an environment where there is so much gossip, but don't get involved in it, even if everyone else is talking about it. Keep your interactions neutral and professional because you don't want to be seen as as choosing sides, picking one person over another. And if coworkers push you for an opinion, you can always say something like, "Hey, I'm just here to do my job. I want to stay focused on my work." Because toxic workplaces thrive on drama, and the more you engage, the more you risk being dragged in to the office politics. It doesn't go away just because you engage, it just gets worse. The second thing you can do is document things. I know it sounds crazy. Why do I have to document what everyone else is doing? But you want to keep records of decisions, emails, and interactions that may seem unethical or unfair to you. And if you notice favoritism, you see retaliation, or people who are violating policy, take notes. Make details about what you're observing. And if you ever need to report misconduct, protect yourself, from wrongful termination, your documentation is going to be key to making that happen successfully for you. If a policy is being ignored, always copy HR or another supervisor in emails when it's appropriate for you to do so, because this creates a really nice paper trail for someone who could later say that you were involved in an action that was against company policy. And then know when to speak up and when to stay quiet. If the toxic behavior directly affects you, like if someone is treating you unfairly or retaliating against you, consider reporting it to HR, but do it carefully. If HR is also compromised or is protecting leadership, you have to seek legal advice before taking action. If the toxic environment doesn't affect you personally, but it just makes work unpleasant, it may be safer for you to stay under the radar while planning your exit from the environment. If HR is closely aligned with leadership, whistleblowing can be risky. Weigh the risks before making a formal complaint. You also want to protect your mental health during this time. Make sure that you are setting boundaries. Limit unnecessary interactions with people that you know are toxic, and don't take stress home. Find healthy hobbies, things that you can do to help you decompress when you're having to deal with that environment every day. If leadership is making unreasonable demands, it's important for you to set firm but respectful boundaries. Don't allow people to take more than they should, to push you over, because that only adds to your detriment. It I can You can always say something like this if you're confronted with that kind of an issue where your supervisor is kind of pushing you and being unreasonable. I can prioritize this, but I need clear deadlines to ensure quality work. I need clear deadlines to make sure that I am doing what is expected. I'm happy to help, but I need clarification on how this fits into my current workload. Okay. These are things that you can do to help protect yourself and keep the place as healthy as possible. Now, if all else fails, you may be confronted with some signs that you need to leave for your own well being. Okay. If you feel mentally drained or anxious every day, it's time to start thinking about other opportunities. You may experience sleep problems, burnout, and emotional exhaustion because the stress is impacting your relationship, your personal life, the quality of your relationships with others. And this is when you may need to leave that environment for your own well-being. But before you do that, create an exit plan. It's always better to have a strategy rather than to just do something abruptly without thinking about the best way to do it. If the workplace is too toxic to fix, start planning your way out. Update your resume. Um, Go to LinkedIn discreetly. Check out other job opportunities, obviously. Start networking and applying for jobs before you quit. And if possible, always try to secure a new job before you resign, because a toxic workplace often retaliates against employees who try to leave. Who try to leave. Now, if you're in a leadership role and you feel trapped, consider consulting an employment attorney. They can discuss an exit strategy with you, especially if a severance package or legal protection might be needed. I think we can all use toxic work environments. As crazy as that sounds, it is possible to take some things away from a toxic environment, because when you're in a workspace that is everything you don't want, it shows you and tells you through experience what you do want and what's important. So don't miss those lessons and apply them when you're looking for your next job. Look for those red flags that the environment may not be healthy. Learn to identify that a toxic company culture exists before you accept the job. The bottom line is toxic workplaces can feel draining and overwhelming, but you don't have to be stuck forever. Stay professional, document everything, protect your mental health above all else, and if necessary, plan your exit strategy. So, have you ever worked in a toxic environment? What helped you survive? Share your comments below. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time.